My fiance won't get married to me unless I sign his fatphobic prenup, so I made some of my own conditions and he crashed out so hard. My fiance and I have been together for 5 years now, and we've both been a bit out of shape. He's never seen me below 150 pounds, and I've seen him get a beer belly a few times. While he's always said that his type used to be skinnier girls, I always thought it was okay because we both gained a typical relationship weight, and if we'd need to get skinnier we could always do it together. We've recently been discussing our wedding planning and I mentioned how I'd like to get married by the end of this year. He laughed a little at me and said he didn't see how that could happen. When I asked him why he said that, he refused to answer. For the next few weeks, every time I'd bring up the wedding, he'd just shake his head, as if subconsciously. I always thought he just had some cutesy surprise for me and I let it go. I decided to get prepared for the wedding all by myself, but I wanted to do a few things before then. I wanted to lose some weight so that I'd look pretty in the pictures, so I used some Obby collagenic pills and started losing weight pretty quickly. I was aiming to be 120 by our wedding, which I was honestly planning for the end of year in a cute little ski resort. My fiancé seemed to love the change, and started to encourage me to continuously take Obby, so I did. About 1 month before our wedding, he came to me with a huge pile of papers in his hands. I thought he signed some sort of contract with a DJ or wedding hall, but when he dropped the papers in my lap, I was in shock. It was a prenup that had about 10,000 demands in them. I asked him what this was, and he said that he had a lot of assets to protect, so he wanted to make sure he was protected just in case our marriage went to crap. I'd understand if he was the son of some famous billionaire, but he was literally the son of a bodega owner. He had about $30 in his bank account right now. I decided to see what he decided he needed to protect in these precious prenup papers, and I literally wanted to slap the crap out of him while reading this. He said that I had to stay below 150 pounds, and if I went 1 pound below, he'd be allowed to keep all of his assets and take anything we'd earned together while being married. There was even a clause that said after I got pregnant, I needed to immediately train with a personal fitness trainer to make sure I'd have a perfect bounce back. He even demanded that I stay on my meds, which were only Obby collagenic elite pills, to make sure I'd keep his ideal weight. None of these clauses were anything about how I'd be protected at all. When I looked back at him with my most evil glare, he looked confused and asked me if I had any suggestions. I honestly had to take a deep breath before I went to jail for unaliving a fatty. I asked him why the hell he would even come up with this idiotic prenup in the first place, and he said that now that he's gotten a taste of what me being pretty actually felt like, he never wanted to feel that turned off again. When I asked him what he meant by that, he said that he would actively have to watch adult videos before getting active with me because he couldn't stand being with a big girl, and now that I got skinny using collagenic elite pills, he wanted to make sure he could always bust a nut without any assistance. I just nodded and walked to my bedroom for a few minutes. I had two choices: sign the prenup and force myself to stay skinny, or crash out. I even considered stopping Obby, but I honestly liked my body the way it was, so I was going to keep taking it. I just didn't want this pig telling me what I needed to do. So I went back out to him and told him that I just needed to make sure everything was fine with my lawyers, but I was going to sign it once they okay it. But when I went to my lawyers, I decided I was going to do way more than just show my lawyers these papers. I was going to add my own twist. It took about 3 days, but when my lawyers wrote up the altered prenup, I grabbed it and went on my way to show my fiancé the changes. He was grinning so wide when I came home with the papers, but his smile went away quickly when he saw what was on the pages. I decided my new rules were that if he were to last less than 5 minutes in bed, I'd be immediately mandated to leave him and take everything. And mind you, he always lasts less than 5 minutes in bed. He started flipping out on me and asked me how I could be so inconsiderate about how his body naturally behaved, but I just watched him and grinned. I told him to think about taking some Obby and look pretty, because I was leaving. I already had been packing my stuff to move into a new house he bought for us, so I grabbed all of my stuff and moved back to my parents' house. I don't think I got as many texts from him in my life. At one point, he even showed me a video of him stroking himself and he was counting the seconds in the background to prove he could last longer than 5 minutes. Newsflash, he didn't.